Hello, I'm Mark Baer, your host of MUSE. My guest this segment, Paul Michel, and it's the Monterey Bay National Marine Sanctuary.
That's right.
Have I got that right?
It's a mouthful.
That is a mouthful. Explain yourself.
Okay, sure. Well, the Monterey Bay National Marine Sanctuary is one of 14 very special marine protected areas in the United States. It's a huge area at over 6,000 square miles, and it stretches all the way from Marin County down to the north part of San Luis Obispo County. And really what these special areas are for celebrating and recognizing these remarkable ocean treasures. We oversee all of the science, the research, the education outreach, the resource protection that occurs in these areas. And my job of superintendent is just to try to play ringleader on all that. But it's, the sanctuary here in Monterey has been around since 1992. So really almost like a national park, it's still in its infancy. You think of some of the national parks like Yosemite or Yellowstone, they've been around for 100 years. Monterey National Marine Sanctuary has just been around a short while, but we've accomplished so much in just such a short amount of time.
So this is a national government program. You're probably underfunded, understaffed, overwhelmed, and doing great work.
Well, all of that's true. I mean, when you think of 6,000 square miles of ocean, that's bigger than Yellowstone, Yosemite, or the state of Connecticut, and a very small staff. But really, it takes a community to oversee and manage a place like this. And what I mean by that is just the rich amount of agencies here and other organizations that do science, that do ocean management, whether it's the state of California, or it is MBARI or the aquarium that does such great education outreach. It really does take a whole suite of agencies and organizations to help us, and we really do welcome that and help really foster that.
Now, one of the great things that you guys have done is your sanctuary show, which we have on Access Monterey Peninsula, and is a fabulously well produced series that lets people see exactly what you're doing. And how did that project come about? And maybe explain a little bit more what that project means and how people can see it.
Well, it's great to be in a different role. I'm usually in your role as the host in that show. Well, we started that show about 2 years ago, and we really, surprisingly, at the time, we didn't think that it would be so popular, but it has grown so hugely popular. We wanted to just do a show locally about the Monterey Bay National Marine Sanctuary, but it turns out there's so many great and compelling stories to share about the whole system of sanctuaries across the country that the show has now morphed into really what's more of a national in scope show. And it's a 30-minute magazine-style format show, as you know, and I host it and I interview special guests. But it really is about sharing what sanctuaries are all about and about why we care about ocean conservation. And the show is now being seen in over 300 cable access stations around the United States. It's been seen in over 150 countries on YouTube.
Wow.
And really, I think we've just scratched the surface in terms of what we can do with the show. In fact, it's morphed from just that show to a whole library of ocean-related content, what we call Your Sanctuary TV. So everything from 30-second PSAs to full-length documentaries are now available for these access cable stations to play on their stations. And we know these stations are hungry for good content. Yeah. And it's actually a pretty compelling show, and we've got more shows to do this year. We've got one coming out very soon on travel and tourism. It's basically all the great places to see and things to do from Marin to San Luis Obispo. It's about a 45-minute show that I sort of do a virtual and real trip down the coast visiting these places. We're going to do a maritime heritage show on shipwrecks. That's coming up later this year, as well as a special on some deep sea exploration that we've done.
Let's talk about, again, what we're trying to do here at the museum is work with the oceanic community in a big way, and again, putting the artists and the scientists together and really using a museum to be a hub for the oceanic community. Again, we have History, Arts, Innovation, and Maritime Heritage. This was the Maritime Museum, and we're trying to again, we have the Allenby Knight collection upstairs. We have a lot of historic maritime things. But again, we're really redefining our mission to be about define maritime as oceanic issues. And I feel we're well placed to be that hub. And again, kind of reiterate what's here for people who don't know what's here in the oceanic community.
Yeah, well, Mark, you know I'm really excited about this potential. This is such a wonderful facility, and I think we have a very unique opportunity to bring together ocean science, ocean art, ocean history, even ocean music for that matter. Again, we are in an area of the country, maybe even the world, like no other in terms of the concentration of ocean scientists, ocean policy people, ocean maritime heritage and education. And really, these are compelling stories to tell, and we need to broaden the audience, and we really need to share this with the greater community. And to have a place where we can invite people in to be a part of that is such a great opportunity. I really want to do that, and I think we're sitting on a gold mine of content.
Last week we had the Whale Trail event.
Yeah.
And we had, gosh, well over 100 people here. Talk about that a little bit.
Well, that was great. I think it was great because it was a kind of a test run for us and our vision for how we can utilize this space to bring compelling things to this facility. And that was also an opportunity to announce to the public the Whale Trail, which is it's kind of an exciting map, if you will, and also recognition of some of the great places to see whales from shore, from all the way to the tip of the Olympic Peninsula up in Washington State, all the way down through here to California. And we had a great speaker that came and talked about his passion about orcas and all the studying that he's done about orcas. Hoyt Evans, he spent a lifetime really studying orcas. And so this was an opportunity to bring his passion, his studies of orcas together with the folks that are facilitating the Whale Trail, together with an announcement of some signage that we're gonna do here locally in the region to show some of the great places to see whales from shore. So it was a great evening, and again, I think it was a great test of what our vision is.
Just filling this place up, kind of showed the hunger of the community for this kind of conversation, for this kind of education. We had a terrific event last week with Kira Corser with Sea Change Act. And again, it was artists and scientists together. We had a great panel discussion. And again, I see the vibrancy of what can happen. Now, you and I are both members of the board of Access Monterey Peninsula. And our goal has been to bring the cameras into our theater here so that we can share what our conversation that we're talking about with the community, so that we can have these events on television. This was the Whale Trail event was the first event that we kind of got out of the gate on and had it videotaped and will make accessible. But we really want to make what happens here, accessible to the community. I mean, it's the conversation that happens that's really important here.
Yeah, and I'd like to see public events, audience participation, and so these events that are compelling to the audience, but also then live on as video content that we can show and reshow through AMP and other cable access stations. That's great.
So how much of your, let's go back to Monterey Bay National Marine Sanctuary. Mm-hmm. How much of your mission is science-based and how much of it's tourist-based, and kind of what's the mix?
Well, we really have a broad mandate and suite of responsibilities. Like I said, everything from resource protection, so the regulations that apply to how we're supposed to manage and protect the area, to all the science and monitoring and research, and education and outreach, and that, as well as maritime heritage. We are mandated to protect and celebrate shipwrecks and our rich maritime heritage in these places. And our education outreach responsibility is huge. I mean, we really try to do that in so many ways, whether it's through video content, through special events, through our visitor centers. We have a big visitor center in Santa Cruz, the Exploration Center. and a small one down in San Simeon, the Coastal Discovery Center. So this idea that we've been talking about to really project ocean conservation and ocean health and ocean music and art and compelling stories really speaks to what we are supposed to be doing, and we can only do that really with local partners like here at the museum and with AMP. So we're really excited about that opportunity.
Tell me about yourself a little. How did you end up here?
Oh,
You're from Tennessee. How,
Yeah.
how did you end up in Monterey?
Long way from Tennessee. Well, I guess the long and short of it is I spent 20 years with the Environmental Protection Agency before I came to Monterey. And well, actually, I went to school in Tennessee, graduate school in Georgia, went to work for the Environmental Protection Agency in Washington, D.C. for several years in the nation's capital, and then I got a chance to move to California. And I caught the California bug, realized this is the place for me. And so I worked in LA for a number of years and in San Francisco for the Environmental Protection Agency. And then when the job opened up at Monterey Bay National Marine Sanctuary for the superintendent job, I thought, well, there's no better place in the world to be involved in ocean science and ocean protection than here in Monterey. So I threw my name in the hat, and luck had it that I ended up getting the job and moved here about 7 years ago. And for the most part, it's been a great opportunity, and it's really the coolest, hardest job I've ever had, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And hopefully you and I will be able to do great things together with the Museum of Monterey. So, you know, it's again, one of the things that's really important is that I try to explain to people is the role that a museum can play in the community. And just by people showing up, and it's proven to me, but just like the Whale Trail lecture, when you open the doors and you invite this fabulous community that's like none other in the door, then great things can happen.
Yeah, I think that, you know, because you're involved every day in the museum. I'm involved every day in the sanctuary, and we tend to underestimate or undervalue how interesting and compelling these things are to a larger audience. And so, like the example with the Whale Trail or with the Your Sanctuary television show, you know, how interesting that is to the larger public. And so I think it's really our responsibility, I think, to share this with the public.
What's the website before we go?
It's montereybay.noaa.gov.
Okay, montereybay.noaa.gov. Anyway, my guest, Paul Michel, thank you so much.
Thank you.
A pleasure.